After the initial foundation is laid, the next step is to shade in the drawing with pen and ink. Shading in with a pen requires a very, very gentle touch. I barely can touch the paper. As I compare the varying textures and tones that I'm applying with the pen, I can experiment with applying different pressures. The more impatient I become, sometimes the more pressure I apply. And the more pressure that's applied, the more the lines will begin to show. When I don't apply a lot of pressure and there's a slight shading, I achieve the most effective tone that I could hope for. As I continue to work on the drawing, I ask the messengers behind the scenes when I should stop. I have not found a perfect way of knowing when to stop yet, so I'm kind of practicing and developing that skill as I go along. The more I do my art and practice, the more I learn about the different dimensions involved in art making. And as I learn to listen, I start to appreciate the depths of the inner self as it shows itself to me. The act of creativity is one of the ways that I believe one of the ways that has been given to us to achieve a contact with our inner selves. As we develop the patience to work on something with our creative abilities, a truth begins to emerge that is sitting inside, just waiting to be observed. And with great patience and practice, communication with our inner selves is inevitable. Creativity when I'm making art is a very similar action to meditation. It's kind of a meditation tool for me, and as I am creating, the more I allow myself the freedom to create with more of an abandonment to the result instead of directing the result, the more I'm open to receiving the result that I'm hoping for. The definition of art is very wide and varied, and there are very many different kinds of art and types of art and purposes of and for art. But the kind of art that I am interested in is the art that achieves a communication with beauty. When I see something, for example, when I go to a museum and I see a work of art that freezes time and captivates me and brings me to a place of mysticism or unexplainable beauty where time stops and I am in awe, that object has achieved beauty. It is with great desire and hope and faith that I work toward achieving a kind of artwork that has that same level of beauty that I encounter in my day-to-day. Art, just like everything else, is complicated to define and understand, just like truth, which is something I've been wrestling with throughout my entire career. So sometimes it's not as simple as the product, but it's also the method. And sometimes when I'm making something, I feel like I capture the emotion or the mood of beauty that I'm aiming for. Sometimes the final piece doesn't achieve it, but I believe that so far it's because every time I am not able to accomplish it, I feel like I'm trying too hard to accomplish it with my mind. And until I can loosen that up, I will not achieve it. At this point, I look at this sketch and I feel that it is finished. 50% of me feels that I don't have any more energy to take it into a different direction. 50% of me feels that I'm getting a message that it's finished, it has nowhere else to go, I should stop here. I'm still practicing understanding the point at which I need to stop or to continue layering it. I fear that sometimes my impatience gets in the way, but it's an interesting component of my art making that I would like to factor in and work on as I continue making these pieces. As I look for the image that stands out the most for me that I want to trace, there are many that I can choose to trace. Sometimes I will trace more than one. It appears to me that this is the one I'd like to concentrate on right now. So I'm going to outline this form and see how that looks. So as I'm outlining it, it appears to have some kind of a trophy-like, statue-like shape. It appears that there's a slight, sort of like a mouse head with ears here, kind of like a Disney imagery. It's not intentional, it just kind of comes out that way. So when an image like this emerges, I always like to ask myself, it's interesting that it reminds me, this section here, slightly of Woodstock, slightly of Disney, then this is slightly like the base of an Oscar. I wonder if this is an unconscious representation that came out through serendipity, or if it's just completely random. This is what makes this form of art very interesting for me. So another fun component of looking for the images is that it feels a bit like scrying, almost like tea leaf reading. So there are all these scribbles here that are free and undirected, completely by chance. And then as I look, I feel like almost like I'm scrying in a crystal ball. So sometimes I think maybe one image would be nice to kind of have it stand out and not look any further. I see an image here that I'm tempted to trace that looks kind of like almost like a penguin puffing its chest out here. Here looks almost like it could be someone running. I would like to think that everyone sees something different depending on each individual perspective. I also like to see random shapes. I see there's kind of like a random shape that I could probably just trace here for fun. I could see this being sort of a whimsical, kind of cartoon-like elephant. There's the trunk there with the eyes. I could make the ear right there. It's really, really a lot of fun, and I find it very interesting. So for today, I'm going to experiment with just outlining this particular form here, just to kind of continue and evolve the practice and learn as I go along. So I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And I may continue layering it in the future, but right now I'm going to stop this drawing for today. So I don't spend too much time thinking about naming the sketch. I typically call the sketch, and I number the sketch with the numbers that correspond to the date, which today would be 11/14/23. So this would be sketch 11/14/23, and then I would consider a title if it comes to me. Looking at this image that I decided to concentrate on today, I'm thinking it kind of looks like an Oscar, like a funny Oscar. So I think I'm going to call this drawing Trophy. So I'm going to post this on my social media, and I thank you so much for watching.